There has been a lot of fuss around Le Mans Ultimate ever since the game entered early access back in February of 2024, and perhaps deservedly so. It has been a game I've kept tabs on just as an interested gamer. I watched one of my friends play it on its initial release, and he delivered to me his profound opinion on what he thought of the game. It cooks, Brendan, to be honest. Good game, in my opinion. Well, I certainly hope it would be good, one, for its publisher, and obviously for consumers like me of sim racing titles, because unfortunately, historically, with motorsport games, they have had a turbulent past, but this time around, they've really had to go all in on this game, and I think it is an alright game. Fresh off the real 24 Hours of Le Mans, and on the eve of Le Mans Ultimate's version 1 release, now leaving early access after a year-and-a-half development updates, I'll give you my first impressions and primarily share with you my experience in VR with my Pimax Crystal Light, including the graphics settings I run in the game, my Pimax Play settings, and my settings in the OpenXR toolkit. Now, for full disclosure, Pimax has compensated me for the purchase of this game. I am an affiliate of Pimax, and if you use code TEAMI5G at checkout at Pimax, you receive a small discount, and you help provide me a small commission for your purchase. Additionally, there is also a special flash sale that will occur on June 19th from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. UTC, where if you use code TEAMI5G10, you will receive a 10% discount on the Pimax Crystal Light. Le Mans Ultimate is the official game of the FIA World Endurance Championship and the longest running endurance race in the world, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It features the full field of hypercars from the 23 and 24 seasons, with cars such as the Porsche 963, the Toyota GR010, and the Ferrari 499P, winners of the 23, 24, and most recently the 2025 24 Hours of Le Mans. With Robert Kubica behind the wheel over the weekend, forever erasing the what if of his career and achieving racing immortality. Le Mans Ultimate also has the LMP2 and GT3 cars from 2024 and the GTE cars from the 2023 season. I've heard many people talk about the feel of Le Mans Ultimate, how the cars actually feel like they're traveling on the road or they're like being driven into it, and I can definitely confirm this. Each of the hypercar slash GTP cars drives differently compared to the other, as would be expected, and overall the game is a pleasant experience, and I really didn't have to do too much to fiddle with the controls or graphics settings, which I know for R Factor 2, at least the times I played it, I was struggling just to get that game running smoothly. I honestly feel like with Le Mans Ultimate, we will look back on this game years down the road, and I think we'll recognize it as a classic. I think we'll look at this game in the same way that we might look at like a GTR 2, for example. If you are someone who loves the World Endurance Championship or the 24 Hours of Le Mans and you enjoy sim racing titles, I think there's really no question you will enjoy driving this game. The other content does need to be purchased as DLC, such as some of the GT3 cars and some of the tracks, although 2 of the GT3 cars are free with the base game. As for my experience in VR with Pimax, it has been very enjoyable, and I didn't have to spend too much time tinkering it to get something I was pretty happy with. A lot of elements of VR are compromised based on which frame rate you want, what you want your refresh rate to be, and what graphics quality are you attempting to achieve. It all kind of depends on your philosophy of if you want to have better graphics versus lower refresh rate, or if you're looking for something more performance-based and running a high refresh rate or high frame rate. I based my settings off the Pimax Crystal video posted on Pimax's channel, and I made some small tweaks for myself. My philosophy is I want to try and always hit a smooth 90 frames per second, even if that means lowering the quality a little bit, but honestly, the quality I achieved with the graphic settings, I'm pretty happy with. So I'll show you my settings, and if you have a better PC than me, you could probably push better graphics. As it is right now, I'm pretty satisfied with what I have here. For my device settings, for my refresh rate, I'm actually using 90 Hz upscale. I tried using the normal refresh rate and downscaling, and I was just having performance issues. And I actually updated my Crystal Light, and it defaulted to 90 Hz upscale. So this is where I first tried it, and I seem to be having the most success with. These are my game settings for Le Mans Ultimate and Pimax Play. I've changed my render quality to 0.75. I've found, and other people have found, that the more you increase this, the more issues you have with performance, and it looks pretty good here for me. If you have a better graphics card, you could probably bump it to 0.8, for example. Here are my graphics settings in Le Mans Ultimate. Now, if you use triple screens or single screen with a VR headset, you can actually make 2 different profiles. So I have a VR profile and I also have like a monitor profile. So here's my VR profile. I put my circuit detail and texture detail at high because that's something I'm always kind of actively looking at. For player detail and opponent detail, I have that at medium, and I suppose maybe I could get away with making those higher, and you definitely can with a different graphics card if it's above a 4070 like mine, but I view it as, well, I'm not actively looking at cars. I'm actively like looking at the track. I'm actively looking at the racing lines. So I feel that I can afford to keep that medium and be happy with that because I'm trying to aim for performance here. For texture filter, I chose X8, special effects low, shadows medium, shadow blur quality, soft particles low, and then raindrops, road reflection, and environment reflection I put at medium. Another important setting I would check is visible cars. I have mine set pretty low to 10. That's perhaps a setting I could steadily increase, but 10 is fine as it is for me. To achieve the best performance in any sim I drive, I always use the OpenXR toolkit, and I only use OpenXR in terms of rendering my VR headset. Down below, I'll have some resources linked on how to use OpenXR and how to install it. These are my settings for the OpenXR toolkit in-game, and I highly recommend for just about anything that you play using VR that you use that OpenXR toolkit because it gives you a lot more options to improve performance. For upscaling and sharpening, I put my sharpness at 30%, and I have fixed foveate rendering enabled with the inner resolution at 1x, the inner ring size 55%, middle resolution 1/8, the outer ring size 80%, and the outer resolution at 1/16. Enabling FFR in this case allows me to hit 90 frames per second stable in just about every situation. With these settings on my end, I get something that I'm pretty happy with in general. I do get like small FPS drops, but like it's at a race start, there's a lot of cars, so it's not going to be super perfect there, but once you get going in a race, I didn't notice any drops. So on my end, I'm pretty happy with these graphics settings, and I'm pretty happy with the smoothness of the refresh rate and the frame rate. It looks very good, and it's stable. If you do have a higher end graphics card than me, 100% you could probably push your graphics settings higher and still maintain a lot of headroom in that regard. Another important thing for me too is good online play, and the Mall Ultimate does offer that. And in fact, on like a typical day/evening, when you look at Twitch and the Mall Ultimate in the categories, you usually see like close to 1,000 viewers each day of people playing like online lobbies and the like. So it is a rather populated game at the moment, and it's only kind of grown since its initial early release back in February 2024. So I do have an interest in trying out the online components. If you're new to this channel or this is your first time watching me, I primarily play iRacing, which I still think is the gold standard when it comes to matchmaking and sim racing. Of course, iRacing does have a lot of flaws. I have talked about them. I have some to talk about with the IndyCar, for example, perhaps. That's a standard other games are going to have to meet, and I don't know if that player base can ever reach that amount, but nevertheless, it does seem like you can get good races now and then in the Mall Ultimate. As I said at the beginning of the video, Le Mans Ultimate is published by Motorsport Games and was developed by Studio 397. They really pushed in all the chips for this game, and maybe it works out or maybe it doesn't, but after having played the game for a little bit, I have had fun with it, and I really do want to drive it more. And regarding going all in, we do now know, in fact, that rFactor 3 was canceled, basically to put all the focus on Le Mans Ultimate. And regarding pushing in all the chips, Stephen Hood, the CEO of Motorsport Games, was quoted as saying, "We have to say no to some things in order to provide for LMU, and it's very difficult to say no. In business, everybody always wants to say yes, because otherwise it seems like you're turning down an opportunity. But delivering one thing is really important, and if Motorsport Games needs to do one thing, it's deliver a reasonable game." And overall, I feel they have delivered a rather reasonable game and one that I have enjoyed. I would just like to say thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed learning about this game as much as I had driving it. It really is a pleasant experience. I'm not an iRacing fanboy. I can be critical of iRacing, like I said. There is no perfect sim. Le Mans Ultimate's not a perfect sim. iRacing's not a perfect sim. Certainly Assetto Corsa, Automobilista, not perfect sims. But for what this game is, I had a lot of fun driving it. I also hope that you find my VR settings useful. I didn't actually find a specific guide like just for the Crystal Light. There is the video on Pimax's channel for the Crystal, and these settings though seem to work pretty well for me. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there is a flash sale slated for June 19th. Again, that sale will run from 6 p.m. UTC to midnight UTC. So basically, beginning in the middle of the afternoon in the United States time to the evening United States time. And there's a 10% discount on the Crystal Light, and also helps me earn a commission on your purchase. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.